Biden campaign ramps up battleground operations and eyes a wide 2020 map. Presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's campaign is ramping up its battleground operations in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic as it prepares for an election. Top staffers told reporters Friday will be a referendum on President Donald Trump. Biden campaign manager Jen O'Malley Dillon said the campaign is poised to announce a major staffing expansion, including a number of significant announcements that are going to be coming over the next 10 days. She said the campaign's top staffers in every battleground state will be announced in June, as well as 600 organizers responsible for those states. She said those staffers will be organizing virtually and in tandem with the work taking place in person, wherever it might be safe and appropriate. O'Malley Dillon argued the 2020 map of battleground states will be broad, with a number of possible paths to 270 electoral votes for the former vice president. Visit CNN's Elections Center for full coverage of the 2020 race. We believe there will be battleground states that have never been battleground states before, O'Malley Dillon said. She pointed to Arizona, Georgia, and Texas, saying she was particularly bullish about Arizona, where candidate Mark Kelly, the Democratic challenger to Senator Martha McSally, is among the party's best funded this year. She said the state's larger-than-average share of older voters, a group Biden performs well among, as well as suburbanites around Phoenix who have tipped in Democrats' favor since Trump took office, and increasing Latino turnout, make Arizona a major battleground. She said moderate increases in turnout among younger voters, African Americans and Latinos can tilt Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina in Democrats' favor. And she said Biden demonstrated strength in the 2020 Democratic primary among disaffected voters, non-college whites, blue-collar workers, African American and Latino men, and those who voted for former President Barack Obama and then in 2016 backed Trump. That, she said, helped Biden win Michigan, a victory that all but cemented his status as the presumptive nominee. She identified Colorado, Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire and Virginia as states Hillary Clinton won in 2016 that Biden's campaign is focused on protecting. And she pointed to Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, as well as 2 states Trump won handily, Iowa and Ohio, as states Biden's campaign also believes are in play. O'Malley Dillon and another top advisor, Mike Donilon, said Biden's campaign is focused on making the 2020 race a referendum on Trump. There's been forces at work in the country and they are what are anchoring this election, and it begins with President Trump and the perceptions of President Trump, said Donilon. One of the most remarkable things about this campaign so far is that the Trump campaign themselves would admit they could not win a referendum on his presidency here in this country today. Biden's advisors argue that referendum will be amplified by the president's handling of the coronavirus, including what they have billed as a corrupt recovery effort. We want to define the choice for voters, said O'Malley Dillon said. We think there's a clear choice of the referendum on Donald Trump. Biden's campaign had $103 million on hand at the end of April, less than half of the $255 million Trump and the Republican National Committee have stockpiled for the general election. Biden's advisors are bracing for an onslaught of attacks from Trump and his allies, as well as Senate Republicans ramping up investigations against the former vice president. I understand that the president and his allies will undertake every effort to go after the vice president and try to change the subject and distract them, Donilon said. This isn't new. It's not like Trump started attacking the vice president today or yesterday, he's been at him all year long. Asked how they will avoid a repeat of 2016, when Clinton endured a series of attacks and investigations which consumed much of the election, Donilon argued, one of the big differences here is the backdrop. The country knows what's at stake. We have a president who doesn't want to talk about the central issue in this campaign right now, Donilon said. He doesn't want to talk about the coronavirus and his reaction to it. He's desperate to try to get any form of distraction from it. Donilon said of Biden, I think he's done a pretty good job of beating them back and raising serious questions about the kind of attacks that Trump has raised. The campaign did not provide a timeline for when Biden would return physically to the trail, stressing that those decisions are being driven by the recommendations of public health experts. Click subscribe to receive the latest news.